Childhood obesity ensues by Aiden Bensch. The definition of this population group is provided by the Encyclopedia Britannica in 2010. It defines childhood as a general stage of human lifespan which consists between the ages of 2 to 13. Now this may change on other genetic factors and inheritance, but this is the average considered age. The definition of childhood obesity is provided in a fact sheet by the World Health Organization. Childhood obesity is defined as having a BMI greater than 2 standard deviations from the World Health Organization reference guide. BMI referring to the body mass index. Now this is one way of determining obesity, but it is not always correct because it is very biased against some populations. Childhood obesity is becoming a major problem in cities as children are getting fatter and unhealthier, and it is not good. There are many social determinants that affect childhood obesity in cities, such as the socioeconomic status. Families from a lower socioeconomic status may not be able to afford the healthy foods that are nutritious and good for their children, and are more likely to opt out for less nutritious and healthy foods that are cheaper and that they can afford. They also may not be able to pay to put their children through a sporting program, just mainly out of the cost for it or for the cost of gear and other stuff. Proximity to fast food restaurants is another problem. The closer you are to something, the more likely you are to use it or eat there in this case. Children who have a fast food restaurant close to them are more likely to be brought there by their family to eat, and this leads to bad habits. Now, a lack of education in parents and children is also a major problem. For the parents, education on what foods they should be feeding their children and what is healthy amounts can lead to a lack of education on that. It leads to obesity. Now, another problem is the lack of the amount of exercise or sport a child should be playing each day leads to children becoming overweight and eventually obese. Children also need to become educated on how much sport they themselves should be playing and where they should eat. As a child who is educated on how much sport and has fun doing it is much more likely to play it than someone not. And a child who is educated on what foods are healthy and the benefits and the negatives is much more likely to eat from a healthy place and have healthy eating habits compared to one who is not. Ethnic background in relation to sports is also one. If you are not of the same ethnic background, you are this major part of the sport, you are much less likely to play it out of fear of bullying or just being different or being bad at the sport. And this is a major problem with people coming into the cities of Australia as well, as they are not as introduced to the culture and are scared of being judged. And there are many barriers that affect childhood obesity in cities, and a lot of them are the same as the social determinants that this causes issue in the first place, but some others include a fear of bullying once becoming obese. If obese children and overweight children face a large amount of bullying every day, and it is quite sad, but this pushes them away from making efforts to become less obese, as they are scared of joining a sporting team, out of being ridiculed and not being good at it, fear of going to a gym as well to get rid of that. And once they become fearful, they just can't get out of it. Unhealthy habits controlling decisions is another big one. If you've never played sports at all, and you've always just sat in your room and done that, you are much less likely to just simply break that and start doing something else. And it's the same with eating as well. If you've eaten unhealthy for most of your life, that's the norm, and you are much less likely to change that. A lack of support is also another major problem. Children are scared to go out and ask for help because it's not really there for them. There's some, which I'll talk about in the next slide, but there's not much support for children around. Now, one intervention I want to talk about is the Healthy Harrow Initiative in Australia. It was developed in Queensland and it is run through many different states: New South Wales, Queensland, I'm pretty sure Northern Territory, but that one's iffy at the moment. Now, it is a strategy where they run events throughout, and they come to public schools and private schools and teach children about healthy eating, amount of sugar in foods, activities they can do to stay fit, and the dangers of drug and alcohol and smoking. Now, it has a wide reach covering most of Australia and going to every single school that can afford it, which most can because it is a government-run initiative. It is relatable as they make the topics suitable for young children, and they have different courses for each different year group, so each year group learns about something different. And it is engaging. The main centerpiece of Healthy Harold is a bright yellow giraffe puppet that teaches them all these things, and it really engages the children. It is very helpful, and it is much better than just sending out flyers or putting out information because it actively engages the children.